Good day, everyone. Today I'll be discussing operating leverage, the degree of operating leverage, and later on, we'll also touch on the checklist for capital structure decision. So let's begin with operating leverage. What is operating leverage? Operating leverage is the extent to which a company uses fixed costs in its operation. In other words, it measures how much the company cost structure is fixed rather than variable. For example, if a company invests heavily on machinery or equipment, it will have a higher fixed cost compared to a business that hires workers on a flexible or per hour basis. So if fixed are high, even a small decline in sales can lead to a large decline in return of equity. So this happens because fixed costs remain constant or the same regardless of sales. So when sales drop, revenues shrink, but fixed costs still need to be paid. So which puts more pressure on profit and ultimately on shareholders' return. So imagine a hotel that has to pay rent, utilities, and salaries every month. If only half of the rooms are occupied, those fixed costs are spread over fewer sales, so profitability drops significantly. If a firm has a fixed cost relative to a variable cost, then small changes in sales will produce larger changes in operating income. So this is where leverage comes in. Fixed costs magnify the effect of sales changes in earnings. A small sales increases can cause a much larger percentage increase in operating income because variable costs don't rise as quickly. So for example, if a factory already covers its fixed rent and machinery costs, then every additional sale contributes more directly to profit. The higher the firm's fixed cost, the greater the business risk. Why? Because when sales fall, the company can easily reduce those fixed costs, which create what we call business risk, and the risk of not covering fixed expenses during downturn. So when a high percentage of total cost are fixed, the firm is said to have a high degree of operating leverage. So this simply means that a company is leveraged in the sense that fixed costs act like a lever. Okay, they magnify both gains and losses. Think of it like riding a seesaw. The more weight, or for example, the fixed cost on the other side, the bigger the swing on the profitability when sales changes. So now let's proceed to the degree of operating leverage. So what is degree of operating leverage? The degree of operating leverage is the numerical measure of operating leverage at a given a level of sales. It quantifies how much operating income will change in response to the changes in sales. So in simple terms, it tells us if sales go up by 1%, how much will profit go up? So degree of operating leverage measures how sensitive net operating income is to the given percentage changes and piece of sale. So if sales increase or decrease, degree of operating leverage tell us how strongly net profit income reacts. For example, if the degree of operating leverage is 3, then 10% increase in sales will result to a 30% increase in operating income. So degree of operating leverage allows quick estimation of what impact or given percentage change in sales would have the company net operating income. So managers often use degree of operating leverage for decision making and planning because it helps predict how profit will behave under different sales scenarios. So the degree of operating leverage, the greater the impact on the company's profit. It is beneficial when sales are rising because profit grow much faster than sales. However, it's risky when sales are falling because losses also multiply. The higher the degree of operating leverage, the more volatile the net operating income will be to the given changes in sales. So volatility means profit can swing wildly up or down depending on sales performance. The volatility of net operating income represents the degree of risk the company is facing due to changes in sales. In other words, degree of operating leverage is not just about potential profit. So it also measures potential risk. The high leverage means high potential return. but also high potential losses. So if the degree of operating leverage is high, a small percent increase in sale can produce a much larger percent increase in profit. Okay, in our example, we have here our degree of operating leverage is 4 times multiplier. So meaning uh, 4 means 1% change 1% change in sale is 4% changes in the income before interest and taxes. So in summary, the degree of operating leverage and the operating leverage both explain how fixed costs and sale changes affects the company's profitability and risk. So understanding this concept is crucial because before making financial decisions, which lead us to our next topic, the checklist for capital structure decision. So first we have sale stability. A company with stable and predictable sales can safely take on more debt because it can meet fixed obligations like interest payment. On the other hand, businesses with fluctuating or seasonal sales should be more cautious, as unstable revenue increase the risk of default. Number two, asset structure. If a company owns assets that can serve as collateral, such as building or equipment, it will find it easier to borrow. Firms with mostly intangible or volatile assets may struggle to secure debt financing and might rely more on equity. Number three, operating leverage. So this refers to the extent to which fixed costs are used in the equation, just like what we have mentioned earlier. A firm with high fixed costs already carries significant risk, so it should avoid too much debt. A firm with lower fixed costs can afford to increase leverage more safely. Number four, growth rate. Rapidly growing companies usually require large amount of financing. They may prefer avoid equity to avoid excessive debt burdens, while growing or mature firms might lean more on debt since their financing needs are smaller. Next, we have profitability. So firms with strong and consistent profit are better positioned to handle debt obligation. They can also enjoy the benefit of tax shield from interest expenses. Meanwhile, less profitable firms might avoid high debt to reduce financial strain. Number six, we have taxes. Because interest tax is tax deductible, companies facing higher tax rates often prefer using debt to reduce taxable income. Firms with low or no more obligation don't benefit as much from debt financing. Number seven, we have control. Issuing new equity can dilute the ownership and voting rights of the existing shareholders. So if maintaining control is a priority, management may prefer debt financing instead of issuing more stocks. So number eight, management attitude. Some managers are conservative and avoid high debt, preferring financial safety other than a more aggressive, willing to take a higher leverage for a potential of greater returns. Their philosophy shapes capital structure decisions. Number nine, lender and rating agency attitude. If banks, creditors, or rating agencies views the company as risky, borrowing may be expensive or difficult. Positive relationship and credit ratings allows the firms to raise debt and more favorable terms. Number 10, market condition. A favorable market with high investor confidence, issuing equity might be easier and more attractive. Conversely, during tight credit conditions, debt financing might be costly or limited. Number 11 is the firm's internal condition. Factors such as cash flow strength, existing debt level, liquidity, and overall financial health must be reviewed. A strong internal financial conditions allows for more flexibility in financing choices. Number 12, the last checklist, is financial flexibility. A firm must always keep the ability to raise funds when unexpected opportunities or challenges arise. Too much debt today it may limit flexibility tomorrow. Maintaining balance ensures that the firm can respond effectively to future needs. So, in summary, capital structure decisions are not made in isolation. They require a careful checklist that considers stability, growth, profitability, risk, and external conditions. By evaluating these factors, a firm can strike the right balance between debt and equity, supporting both financial stability and long-term growth. So that's all. Thank you and good day.